Hi everyone, I'm honored to be here with all of you today. I hope this year, bizarre and hard as it's been, has been treating you well. While preparing for this talk, I wondered, what am I qualified to talk about? But more importantly, what would you be looking for from me? What can I give that will be valuable to you? So here are 7 things that my 16-year-old self would want to know. 1. Know who you want to be. I don't mean it in the sense of finding out who you are, but discern the kind of person you want to be and the kind of life you want to live. Every action from this point on will either bring you closer to this ideal or farther away. It can be as simple as being kind, honest, and having integrity in everything you do. Whatever it is, make sure you know your values and boundaries. The easiest way to get swept up in someone else's vision for you is when you don't know what you want. 2. Start living now. The adults around you might tell you that if you just get through school and into a good college, you'll be free to do whatever you want. This hasn't been true in my experience. There is always a new goal, a new hill to conquer. After school, it is doing well in college, then finding a good job, then progressing in that job. It doesn't end. Start living now. You don't have to choose between achieving your goals and living your life. There are several studies that suggest happiness increases motivation and productivity. Then living your life and carving time out for hobbies can bring you closer to achieving your goals. So keep working, but also take the time to do whatever brings you joy. In our hyper-capitalist society, you're often told, oh, you play the guitar? Create a YouTube channel. Monetize that. I'm here to remind you that not everything you do has to make you money. You don't have to have a business plan before you get into a hobby. Give yourself permission to live the kind of life you want to live. 3. Don't compare. I bet everyone here has had an adult say to them, look at your friend, she got 100 marks. Why can't you be more like her? Hearing this is no doubt frustrating, and I would go so far as to say that it's counterproductive. Even adults don't want to be compared with each other in performance reviews. Instead, comparing your performance now to your past performance can be helpful. If you used to get marks in the 60s last term, try to improve your performance to the 70s this term. It's a much more realistic goal that lets you see concrete improvements you have made. Comparing yourself with others can also be misleading. This is especially heightened for our generation because Instagram culture has become so deeply entrenched. You see your friend's posts where she's doing exciting things and you ask yourself, why isn't my life that good? But remember that you're seeing this polished, filtered version of your friends, but are comparing it to the unfiltered, everyday version of your life. Not a fair comparison. Social media only lets you see the best snippets of others' lives, which creates an unrealistic impression in your mind. Everyone's journey is different. So the next time someone tells you, look at her, don't compare, instead look at how far you have come. Next, I'd like to talk to you about self-talk. Self-talk is your internal monologue. It is a frame through which you narrate your experience to yourself. Consistent, positive self-talk can build self-confidence and resilience. Negative self-talk can create doubt and hold you back. Now, if you're like me, seeing a new opportunity you want to go for might lead you on a negative spiral of listing all the reasons why it won't work, why you're not good enough or qualified enough, and why you might as well not try, because what is the point if you already know you're going to fail? Let's stop for a moment and think, who does this help? If you're applying for a job, there is someone else who's being paid to figure out whether you are a suitable candidate or not. You certainly don't have to do them a favor by disqualifying yourself. Be on your side. Don't take yourself out of the running. That's not your job. Your job is to show up prepared. If you don't lose anything by applying for something, just do it and put that negative voice to bed. Treat yourself with compassion. At this juncture, I want to make a specific statement to the girls here. Statistics show that men apply for jobs when they meet 60% of the qualifications listed, whereas women don't apply until they meet 100% of the qualifications. The job requirements on the listing is not the minimum requirement to apply. It's their ideal dream candidate. She doesn't exist, not for the moment they are paying anyway, and employers know this. So when you start looking for jobs, apply for those that you meet 60% of the requirements for. Don't take yourself out of the running. Let's now talk about failure. When I was younger, I took failures and rejections deeply to heart. My self-confidence took a huge hit whenever I got rejected from a course. I was overcome with feelings of worthlessness, overwhelmed with humiliation, and felt like a complete failure. Looking back, it's ludicrous to think that any 17-year-old can declare herself a failure. In fact, it is illuminating. I simply assumed that failing at something meant that my entire being, my entire life is a failure. I know a lot of you might also be tempted to think the same, but this is categorically untrue. You can succeed and fail at different ventures, but they do not individually reflect your worth as a human being. Besides, luck is a significant factor. Even my successful ventures might not have come to fruition had I not been lucky that day, despite the hard work. You could do everything right and still fail at something because of factors outside of your control. Take failure in your stride and keep on going. 6. Cultivate your mind. Most of you would know about fake news and misinformation. Propaganda is everywhere. And propaganda doesn't have to be obvious lies. It can be biased information hidden in half-truths, omission of relevant information, or even reframing of a narrative. After all, the best liar buries the lie among 9 truths and leads you to asking the wrong questions. But all propaganda is designed to make us feel a certain way or believe a certain thing. Take climate change, for example. The focus is constantly on individual actions. We all know what we can do to help as individuals. Walk more, drive less, carpool, recycle, eat less meat. But how many of us know the fact that just 100 companies are responsible for 71% of global emissions? Now, individual actions are important, but they do not bring about structural and systemic change. Take this tweet, for example. Big Think says emissions from 30 minutes of Netflix is comparable to driving for 4 miles. A look at their website shows that Big Think is sponsored by the Charles Koch Foundation. Now, if you don't already know the Koch brothers, Charles Koch is the CEO of Koch Industries, which is involved in the petroleum industry. The Koch brothers also have a history of opposing investments into public transport systems. If that's not questionable, the tweet is also factually wrong. Driving a car 4 miles produces 9 times as much carbon dioxide than streaming for 30 minutes. This is blatant propaganda designed to inspire hopelessness about environmental causes and keep us in a state of powerlessness. Who does that benefit? It benefits the oil companies who can keep on polluting while shifting the responsibility to the individual who has very little choice in this debacle. This is by no means rare. We are bombarded with information 24/7. On TV, on the news, on social media. Even if you're only reading things in passing, you process it and internalize it. It shapes your worldview. This is why it's important to cultivate our minds by engaging critically with everything. Always ask, who does this benefit? Because all media outlets have their own interests and are backed by corporations with an agenda to push. I assume many of you use social media to read news articles. Facebook's algorithms keeps track of your likes and shares and shows you recommended articles and pages that you're more likely to click on because clicks generate advertisement revenue for them. This leads to a feedback loop where you only see posts that conform to your beliefs. This loop, combined with confirmation bias, the tendency to only see evidence that confirm our preconceived notions, creates echo chambers. This is why we need to look at different perspectives so we can see through the fog of misinformation and fake news. Be doubly critical when you see evidence that confirms your view. Always ask, who does this benefit? Be aware of views that only serve to disrupt or derail the conversation. I would like to leave today with some practical advice for the girls here. Financial independence is your best friend. Our society isn't designed around our needs or to benefit us. There might be times your parents or peers will compel you to make choices you don't want to make. Being financially independent goes a long way into making sure that you will not be stuck in such situations. As soon as you get a job, create a bank account that no one else has access to. Cultivate strong female friendships. Put your needs first because no one else is going to do that for you. You don't have to be selfless or sacrifice to be a good person. I wish you all the joy and success in life. Thank you.